Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Ariana, but you can call me Ari. And today we are talking about 10 new books that are coming out by Black women and non-binary authors this summer. Last year I did a video where I did 10 anticipated reads by Black authors in general. But as I was doing my research and compiling the books that I was interested in, I noticed that I was just overwhelmingly finding books by Black women and non-binary authors. And so I leaned into that and I decided that let's just stick with that path because there's so many great works coming out. I am going to talk about these books in the order in which they are releasing, so the closest date to the farthest out. And these books are a culmination of books that I have compiled from authors that I've read before. So authors that I have encountered are coming out with some new books. There are also just books that I thought looked really pretty and the cover was cute, so I added it to the list. There are also books where the synopsis really caught my attention, and there's one book actually that is from an author that I DNF'd from last summer, and I added her back in this summer because I love pain. And I also have a book on the list that doesn't have a synopsis, at least not one that I could find. So when we get to that one, I want to just talk about what I think the book could be about based off of the cover itself. Let's just get into the new releases that are coming out by Black women and non-binary authors this summer. So the first one is called Somadina by Akwaeke Emezi, and it comes out on April 19th. And this is a YA fantasy novel set in a magical West African world. We follow Somadina and her brother as they navigate their new powers. But her brother, Somadina's brother, ends up going missing, and she has to learn to navigate her powers while also trying to find her brother and also navigating some uncharted territory and dangerous situations. And yeah, Akwaeke Emezi is someone that I have encountered. I've encountered their work through You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty. And that's the only one I've read by them. I want to read Little Rot before I read this one. Not because it matters so much, I just want to read that one first. I'm interested to see how the YA genre translates because You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty was very much far from YA, so I'm interested in seeing how her writing style translates into this genre, so that one is on the list. Meet Me at the Crossroads by Giddings comes out on June 3rd, and it is a sci-fi dystopia novel following two Midwestern sisters who are confronted with 7 doors that lead to 7 different dimensions. And one of the sisters ends up going through one of the doors, and the other sister has to go in and save her and find her. And there's an exploration of their bond and their relationship and them finding out the truth of what's happening on the other side of these doors. And I love dystopian sci-fi novels, so this one is definitely one that I am going to make a conscious effort to read. Okay, so this next book is a book that from the author that I DNF'd last summer, and it is called Plus Size Player by Danielle Allen, and it comes out on June 10th. Well, let's just talk about what it's going to be about. So we're following Nina Ford. She is a woman who's got it all together. She's got her career, her life in order, but the one thing that's kind of been lacking for her is her dating life. And none of the guys that she encounters check any of her boxes. And she has them kind of like labeled and titled, and one of them is titled Fun Guy. So he's just like a guy that she sees when she wants to have a good time, but that guy starts to evolve in a way that she starts to see him differently, and he starts to step up in a way that catches her attention. And it throws into question her commitment style and her relationships style and the way she's approaching relationships. And so she's considering giving Fun Guy a try. I DNF'd Curvy Girl Summer last year. I got to like 30 pages and I was like, it's just not for me. Something that I'm realizing about myself that I am sharing for the first time with anyone ever on camera, online, is that I think I struggle with books that are very close to me, which makes sense, right? Like things that you may see in yourself, or like, not that I saw myself in the main character of Curvy Girl or like any of Danielle Allen's character. I don't know. I didn't finish the book, so I don't all the way know. But when it comes to like dating and stuff, the dating world is already so frustrating. And so reading about it makes me more frustrated. And I think it's a me problem, you know what I mean? Like the fact that I didn't enjoy it has nothing to do with like the writing or anything like that. I think it just may have to do with the fact that like I'm fed up with dating and I know how hard it is. And so yeah, that's my little rant about that. But I added it on because I know, one, maybe there's someone out there that didn't know she was coming out with another book, and two, I'm open to trying again and I'm keeping my heart open. So we'll see how it goes. Whispers of the Lake by Shanora Williams comes out on June 24th, and it is a mystery thriller about a woman named Rose Howard who is an investigative reporter, and her best friend goes missing on vacation. Now, this friend is known to be pretty flaky, so Rose doesn't really think much of it when she's not answering her phone calls, but time goes on and things get a little suspicious. So Rose goes to investigate, and she goes to the vacation site. She goes to the cottage in which her friend was staying and asks the cabin owners questions about what happened, but the stories aren't adding up and things seem to get more ominous from there. Shanora Williams is an author that I have enjoyed before. I recommend starting with Perfect Ruin. That one was so good. It had an irreliable narrator, and we were seeing it from her point of view. It was just really good. So I think you should start with Perfect Ruin, but she's on my list because I love her and I'm excited to read her next mystery thriller and just eat it up. The next one on my list is called Blood in the Water by Tiffany Jackson, and it comes out on July 1st. I'm looking at my notebook if you're wondering what I'm looking down at. It is a middle grade thriller, and I think this is your quintessential summertime thriller kind of read. It takes place in the summer on summer vacation, and Kalani is going on vacation with family friends. She makes friends, she makes enemies, she eats ice cream. It's a very normal vacation. They're at Martha's Vineyard until one day a murder happens and it shakes the community completely. And Kalani is curious about what actually happened to this person. Was it a shark attack or was it something else? Tiffany D. Jackson also wrote, as everyone probably already knows, Monday's Not Coming. It's on my list. It's really high on my list, and I would like to read that one first before I get to this one. So that's probably going to be my next book that I read after the 3 books that I'm reading currently at this moment. Something in the Water by Phyllis R. Dixon comes out on July 24th, and this is a book that I did not collect or write a synopsis for. I'm actually just going to read you the synopsis straight from Goodreads because there's so much that this novel seems to include, and I try to be as succinct and clear as possible. And I think the best way for this novel and a couple of others that come after it is to read the synopsis straight from the resource because, yeah, I think it just gives you the best depiction of what's happening. So this is a synopsis of Something in the Water by Phyllis R. Dixon. And I'm looking at my laptop, by the way. Buried secrets, environmental disaster, and a legacy of corruption hit too close to home when a California native and her family make a fresh start in small-town Texas and find trouble just beneath the promising surface. As director of an award-winning investigative news radio show, Billy Jordan is used to dealing with trouble. But when the radio station is sold, she's suddenly jobless and in need of money to help her son's recovery from an accident-related opioid addiction. When her husband gets a professorship at an HBCU in his hometown, Billy makes the best of their move south. All seems well until severe storms cause massive destruction and contaminate the town's water supply, making it unsafe to drink. With some digging, Billy learns that the water issues are ongoing, but soon the old guard accuses her of sticking her nose where it doesn't belong. And it doesn't seem like a coincidence when she starts losing job opportunities. When she tries to expose the crisis in the local newspaper, even HBCU administrators, including her husband, squash her efforts. Undeterred, Billy discovers a shocking millions of dollars intended to solve the problem have disappeared or been redirected. Worse, her sister-in-law is in on the water commission. Billy is fast learning that decades-old connections between money, power, and family flow deeper and darker in the town than any underground system. With her son's health and her marriage at stake, she'll need all her resources and skills to save them and bring down the corruption if a conspiracy doesn't drown her first. So much and so exciting that this book is like including like environmental crises and a lot of things that we're actually seeing today. And I just think this is an example of like when people tell me that fiction isn't real and like fiction is like not worth your time to read, that you should really just be reading nonfiction or self-help. Well, honestly, these books that are fiction are based off of a lot of truth, and you can't have the imaginary without truth and vice versa. And I think that that's how the truth comes to be. We start with imagination, right? So anyway, rant. But that is Something in the Water, and that sounds like a book that's going to be something else. I'm excited about that one for sure. The next book is called Family Spirit by Diane, McKinney, Whetstone, and it comes out on August 12th. And she is also the author of Tempest Rising. Now, this is the book. I have not read Tempest Rising, and I want to read that first, I will say. But this is the book that I could not find a synopsis for, so if you happen to find one, let me know. But as of now, I couldn't find one, and it does have two covers that that could be possible covers for this novel, and so I'm just gonna roughly talk about what I think it's gonna be based off the covers. I haven't read the other works by her, so I can only go by the covers. So I think based off the cover, it's gonna have some magic, some magical realism, and it's gonna deal with like families through generation. Maybe there's some magic that's passed down, or maybe there's a physical item that is magical that is passed down that has some like repercussions or like some type of like properties that like either make the lives of the people who attain it easier or difficult depending on the circumstance. And also then maybe it's just a simple family that is going through like family stuff and we get to see them grow up. It's a coming of age. I feel like it's going to be happening in a city, maybe Chicago, New York, because it looks like there's like brownstone houses or like duplexes and stuff in the background. So that's my speculation loosely of what it could be. I'm curious to know, based off the cover in the comments, what do you think this novel is going to be about? The next one is called Positive Obsession by Suzanne M. Morris, and it comes out on August 19th. And this one is a biography about the first Black woman to consistently write and publish in the science fiction genre, Octavia Butler. I'm so excited about this biography, and I'm going to read a little bit of the synopsis to you so you kind of get a feel of what to expect. But honestly, all you really need to know is that it's going to be a bomb biography. But either way, I'm going to read it to you. In this outstanding work, Susanna M. Morris places Butler's story firmly within the cultural, social, and historical context that shaped her, the civil rights movement, Black power, women's liberation, queer rights, and Reaganomics. Morris reveals how these influences profoundly impacted Butler's personal and intellectual trajectory and shaped the ideas central to her writing. And I'm going to jump towards the end where Morris talks about why she wrote and why she writes and what keeps her writing. So she says, "Who was I anyway? Why should anyone pay attention to what I had to say? Did I have anything to say? I was writing science fiction and fantasy for God's sake. At that time, nearly all professional science fiction writers were white men. As much as I loved science fiction and fantasy, what was I doing? Well, whatever it was, I couldn't stop. Positive obsession is about not being able to stop just because you're afraid and full of doubts. Positive obsession is dangerous. It's about not being able to stop at all." I'm obsessed. The next one is called Mounted on Horses, Blackness, and Liberation by Kalli Bitter, and it comes out on August 19th. And this one is so interesting. I'm going to read the synopsis to you really quick. It says, joining the growing Black creative movement, currently refashioning horses and cowboy imagery, a thoughtful, probing exploration of the sharp history of Blackness and horses, which reveals what its image can teach us about nationhood, race, and culture. Drawing on their personal history as a former urban equestrian Black queer person and child of Jamaican and Filipino immigrants, essayist and art critic Bitter Kalli contend the horse should be regarded as a critical source of power and identity in Black life. And she goes on to mention creatives like Beyonce and the yeehawification of Lil Nas X and the imagery of the cowboy. And it says, at heart, Kalli probes a central what does it mean for Black people to ride and tend horses in the context of a culture that has also used horses against them. And there's so much more. I encourage you to go and read the synopsis and like look into what this is about. But oh, I love current books. Like I love pop thick books that are like really talking about where we are today and what we're doing, and it's an interesting time that we're in. And so it's really interesting being an adult and growing into the adult I am, and like looking at our history and looking at the things that are trending and like being able to understand and see trends more, and like it's just more evident now than ever. And so I don't know if I'm saying anything at all of substance, but all this to say that I'm very interested in seeing where this book goes. And last but not least is called The Wilderness by Angela Flournoy, and it comes out on September 16th. And this is a contemporary literature book about 5 friends. We have Desiree, Danielle, January, Monique, and Nakia, and we follow their life from the late 2000s into the late 2020s. So it's all about friendship and how their friendship goes through different trials, and they all each individually have their own things going on. You're learning how to be an adult, economic stability, finding, friends, a career, maintaining a friendship. And so it's gonna, I think, encompass all those things about growing up. And it's interesting to see, again, our time being reflected in books. It is getting to a point where like history is like where we're able to track data in history more so in the 20s, because we're now pushing into the late 20s. And so it's just going to be interesting to see the kind of work that's coming out. We've got books about AI that are coming out, and that's going to be interesting to see. Sometimes very scary to see where literature is going in the future. But I got off on a tangent. I was supposed to be talking about The Wilderness, but yeah, this is a book that I'm also excited about, and it is the last book on the list of the 10. This is not by any means all the books, obviously, that are coming out by Black women and non-binary authors, but these are the books that I was drawn to and caught my eye. So if there are books on your list that came out this year that may have already come out and you're really loving, I'd love to hear it. If there are books that are coming out in the future that you have your eye on, I'd love to hear about those as well. And if there are any books that I mentioned that are on your list or that you are now adding to your list, I'd love to know that as well. So be sure to give this video a like. You can subscribe. It's 100% free. And you can also follow me on Instagram, on my Goodreads, and my Storygraph. I am more consistently updating on my Bookstagram, and I'm more consistently updating on my Storygraph. So I hope to see y'all over there. I hope y'all have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see y'all in the next video. Bye.